Hi, this is Samantha Hannon. The problem I chose to focus on was from page 257, and it goes like this. Josh spent $8 to buy 4 clipboards and 8 pencils. Denise spent $7 to buy 3 clipboards and 10 pencils. If Denise wants to trade Josh 2 pencils for a clipboard, is that a fair exchange? Consider what is the price of a pencil, what is the price of a clipboard, and explain your reasoning. Now, a way to make this more connected to your students is perhaps to change the names to some students that you have in your classroom, or to change the products out to something that you think is more relevant to them. However, school supply shopping is upon us, so I figure this is a pretty relevant problem for now. The first thing I notice is there's a lot of words going on, and students have a difficult time visualizing an equation, especially with so many words. So I'd ask my students to take a moment, reread the problem to themselves, and to draw an actual picture. Draw 2 scenarios. What's happening in Josh's scenario? What's happening in Denise's scenario? And hopefully they'd come up with something a little like this. We're told that Josh has purchased 4 clipboards. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 8 pencils. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Love that infinity cloner on Smart. And Denise has purchased 3 clipboards and 10 pencils. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now, I would naturally kind of line them up to be more visual, but I'd ask the students to look at their image and see, is it organized in a way that they can start to make an observation, identify some patterns? If not, try and rearrange it. So I'd invite a discussion on what patterns or observations do you notice? Well, we can start with Josh paid more than Denise. Okay, what about the clipboards? Josh has more clipboards than Denise. Well, 1 more than Denise. But Denise has more pencils, and she has 2 more pencils. So if we focus on the first part, trading. If Denise wants to trade Josh 2 pencils for a clipboard, is this a fair trade? So how will we identify an answer from our picture? So with students discussing the organization and trying to identify a pattern, I'd encourage them to rearrange it in such a way that you can see a matching scenario. For whatever Josh has, Denise has. And since Denise only has 3 clipboards, I only want Josh to have 3, so I'm going to pull one of them aside here for now. And Josh has 8, Denise has 10 pencils. Well, that means to make them equivalent, I need to take 2 of them away from Denise. So up top, we would accept that this would be a balance of 3 clipboards and 8 pencils each. Those should cost the same. But you'll notice the cost is not the same because of what's left over at the bottom. So what conclusion can we draw from the leftover clipboard and 2 pencils if Josh spent more than Denise? So if we focus in on just those 2 items, we should be able to conclude that the clipboard costs more than 2 pencils. How much more? We're about to find out. So modeling with math takes on many forms, and beyond the picture, we want them to start talking variables, expressions, equations, and putting together number sense. So let's go back to our picture. I'm going to ask my students to write in words what the situation is. So let's see, Josh spent we'll use the word a total of $8 on 4 clipboards and 8 pencils. All right, I like writing it out in words some of those, and actually probably should have done 8 here just to force more practice on words and numbers swapping out. All right, and over to the right here we have Denise spent a total of $7 on 3 clipboards and 10 pencils. All right. So with beginning writing equations, we need to identify what our variables are. And since we can find that information back into the problem, if we go back to our question, it's asking us to identify how much each clipboard costs, how much each pencil costs. So I always ask my students to use the best and easiest letter that's going to make sense in the problem. So what should we use for clipboards? C. What should we use for pencils? P. And highlighting right here. So C represents the number of clipboards purchased, and P represents the number of pencils purchased. All right, so we're one step closer to being familiar with spelling out an equation. So I'd ask the students to look back at our words and start replacing some of those words with numbers and finding where our variable will slip in. Looking for key phrases like total. And we should make 4 clipboards become 4C, and 8 pencils to become plus 8P, and a total of $8 to be equals 8. And on the right side, we've got 3 clipboards, 3C, and 10 pencils plus 10P to cost a total of $7. That's equal to 7. All right, so we've got 2 equations created, but is there a way that we can make this easier on ourselves? Is there a way we can reduce any of our equations? Well, if you look at 4C plus 8P equals 8, they all have a factor of 4 involved. So we could easily divide everything by 4 and create a new equivalent equation, C plus 2P equals 2. But what does that mean? C represents clipboards, P represents pencils. So 1 clipboard and 2 pencils is equal to $2. Going back to our picture, we can use this as kind of a puzzle to cross off for every 1 clipboard and 2 pencils, that's $2 that we have spent. So going over to Josh's info here, 1 clipboard, 2 pencils, that represents a $2. 1 clipboard, 2 pencils, another $2. 1 clipboard, 2 pencils, $2. 1 clipboard, 2 pencils, $2. So we have 4 sets of $2 payments, getting us a total of 8, which is in fact exactly what Josh paid. So let's look over at Denise's scenario. We've got 1 clipboard, 2 pencils. There's our $2. Another clipboard, 2 pencils, $2. Another clipboard, let's do these 2. There's my $2. But I'm out of clipboard, so I can't continue to follow the pattern. What I do notice is I have already spent 3 sets of $2. I have spent $6. Well, what's left if Denise spent 7? There's still $1 unaccounted for. And what's unaccounted for in our picture? We still have 4 pencils left. So what can we conclude? Those 4 pencils are equivalent to $1. And if we go further, that means that each pencil is 25 cents. All right, so to further answer this question, let's look at it with some substitution. We just solved for the letter P, representing the number of pencils that we purchased, or the cost per pencil, excuse me, so 25 cents per pencil. And hopefully the students are able to speak in terms of money. That tends to make decimals go a little bit smoother, otherwise they get a little discouraged using decimals in a problem. So C plus 2P equals 2. We know P represents 25 cents. C plus 2/4 is 50 cents. So C plus 50 cents is equal to $2. Undo the 50 cents. Each clipboard must be $1.50. Well, that makes sense because we asked to consider that the clipboard should cost more than 2 pencils, and it certainly does in this case. So the following slide here is the work that would happen with elimination and then the following substitution to get the right answer. This has so much room for error, and especially if you don't understand the meaning behind the problem. So the modeling and drawing of the picture provides the students more of an understanding of what they're actually trying to answer and what those letters represent. So even in the algebraic portion, we get the same answer that each pencil costs 25 cents and each clipboard is $1.50, but with the modeling, it makes more sense. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching.